I had to view the policy. There we go. And now accept. Wow, we're getting locked down on this stuff. Okay. Jay, take it away.
All right, I'm gonna start with sharing my screen. I think that's how we do it. Am I locked in? Can people see my screen?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
oh, you can. Okay, hold on here.
Include computer sound.
Okay, I see it.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Everyone's in?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay. So
Nope.
I can see it.
Not yet. Not yet, Jay.
Nope.
all right. All right. Hold on.
Click that box with the up arrow.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Go to computer sound stuff.
And then look in the bottom left corner where it says which preference to what you're going to share is. You're going to share your computer screen. It should be the first one to the left.
All right, screen one.
There you go. There you go, boss.
There you go.
I'm in.
Yep.
All
Good,
right.
good.
You got it, baby. All right. Okay. So, log on to Moxie. Just gonna start it off. I found this property off of Zillow. It was a for sale by owner. It's actually off the market currently. But we're gonna start right away. All right. So, start off with the first page. Mr. and Mrs. 2021. This is your property, 525 West Superior Street. And we're going to start off with a little bit about myself. Name is Jay Maples. I've been in the real estate game since 2014. Started off as a rental specialist and kind of graduated towards sales throughout the years. Have a large experience in the restaurant and hospitality industry, which really makes me focus on client and customer relations and just overall happiness. My goal is to make you happy. So let's start off with your property in question. It's 525 West Superior. It's located in River North area. All of this information has been pulled from a previous MLS listing. It kind of gives an overall summary of what your property is, the benefits of it. We can update this when you decide to go with me. All right here is a side-by-side comparison. One of the main things to do, we don't guess the market, we know the market. So how we do that, we figure out what has sold in the past 6 months that are comparables to your property. And you currently have a few units in the building that has sold, one that is pending and one that is currently active. So we have a good pool of what we can price your property at to move forward. There's no guessing involved. And this is just a summary of what those particular properties had to offer. The highest one sold for $325, and then one is currently on the market at $297, I believe. Yes. All right. So we're gonna go down and just going piggyback on what I spoke previously. This just shows a map of where those properties are located. Most of them are in your building. We have one outside of it. All right. So you had heard a little bit about me. This is about who I work for. Licensed Coldwell Banker, the #1 realty brokerage in the United States, actually. A lot of local names that you probably household names that you know. We're #1 out of all of them. Speaking of that, exactly what we're doing right now and where everyone's online. We're the #1 brand online, which is why I wanted to partner with them. Due to COVID, you kind of recognize the value of having the online presence with any organization, and we just happen to be #1 in the real estate game. All right. Kind of continuing based upon what I was speaking before, all the buyers, 93%, look to find homes online. And what people actually bought their homes, the homes that they found it on the internet or through a real estate agent. So I cover at least 70% of that off the back. All right. Reason to go with me as well. As you can tell, everyone loves real estate sites, Zillow, Realtor.com, things of that nature. But everyone falls in love with the Zestimate, what what Zillow predicts your property to be valued at. It's this estimate. Going with a broker, you see that Zestimate moves $8,000 off on a property that was sold already, and $13,000 off from another one that's located in your building. This is the value that I could bring you if you decide to go with me. How are we going to do this, Jay? Well, let me answer this question. All right. This is just a kind of overview of the things that I'm going to do to get your property sold. Side of photography, different online marketing. We're gonna put together exclusive marketing plan for you. Want to go over a few of these things now. Taking advantage of the internet presence, you're going to be featured on thousands of different websites, including Wall Street Journal, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia. Starting with taking the best photos of your property. Everyone loves iPhones and Android photography, and you can get really good pictures, but nothing compares to an actual photographer that specializes in real estate photos. They know the angles. They know how to capture it better than what we can. We're going to hire that for you. You know that weird thing that happens when you look up things online. You're looking for a pair of boots, and you happen to go on your Facebook feed, and you see that same pair of boots. We're going to do that with your home. It's called targeted online marketing, where we're pretty much finding buyers that are looking up similar properties to the one that you own, and they're going to just get a random advertisement from advertising guides that just come directly to their phone about your home. What else? All right, so another concept. We still have that sign in the yard, but we kind of eliminated the paper aspect because it rains. We live in Chicago. Kind of going virtual, mobile. So they can text a number to get all the information and photos and details about your property. And this is just the mobile brochure of it, kind of showcasing that just the overall outline of what your property has to offer. And what happens is the second they text that number, I get a direct alert, which is giving me the power to call them immediately and schedule a showing, hopefully. You're going to get print property brochures. If you ever went to an open house and you have nothing to take with you, no bottle of water, no information, you just have memories of what property used to exist. Well, this one, when people come to see your home, they'll have something to take with you, a property brochure. What else? We also own our exclusive magazine. It's called The View. Your property will be presented on the page here. It goes out to over 200,000 households, I believe, and it shows really pretty on a coffee table because everyone loves cool pictures of houses, and they don't throw it away immediately. It's not the local newspaper. It's something that people keep every now and then, and your home will be seen in it. We also have a television show. Your property will be showcased on the television, on our TV and online network on Sundays. It'll air one time. It's kind of a cool aspect that you can send out to friends and family members. Kind of, hey, watch my house online. I'm kind of cool in that regards. And if you in the event that you do miss it, they have it on YouTube as well. So they want to talk your head off about everything that we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it again. This shows what is sold, what's pending, and what's currently active in the process of us finding out that perfect number that we're going to sell your house for. And what we're doing to avoid, we don't want to be this long property over here that took 108 days to sell. We want to be over here, which is kind of shows the longer your property is on the market, the more judgmental the eyes become. People start wondering, people start looking harder. And I can guarantee you, in my opinion, this property did not sell for $300,000. Probably gonna be under asking price. And these, which is kind of shows how hot the market can be. This lasted 17 days. This lasted 11 days, and then we have the one that's active, and one that's pending. And in closing, one of the things that programs that we have is Revitalize Your Home. All those nicks and crannies that judgmental eyes can come across as far as buyers are concerned, we can help solve those issues as far as painting, staging, just really putting your property in the highest light. And those who have decided to go with the Revitalize program saw a 25% faster sale rate compared to other homes on the market. So that's always a cool program to go with if you really want to get your home sold even faster. All right, and that's it.
Jay, that was excellent. Excellent. So proud of you. Make sure you stop sharing your screen so I don't have to see myself back at myself. Okay. First of all, you talk faster than I do, and that is a hard feat, my friend. Because I talk a lot and I talk fast. So kudos to you for beating me on that. Remember, luckily it's just in front of us. So remember, deep breath, whew, and slow down just a little bit. But otherwise, everything else was straight fire. So if we go back through the chat a little bit, I was getting a little bit in my feels towards the end because you brought in Real Vitalize. And I got to tell you, that just makes me so proud. You're the first person to bring in one of our auxiliary programs, either RealSure or Real Vitalize. I thought that was phenomenal. I'm so excited. This is such a great tool for you guys to be able to leverage at every listing appointment. Even the listing appointments where you walk in and you're like, wow, this place is pristine. What could it possibly need? If your client gets registered for Real Vitalize at the onset of the listing, and then something comes up during the inspection that Real Vitalize can cover for them at no out-of-pocket expense to them and no money down and no interest, you can do it, right? So let's say the inspector comes back and says, oh yeah, this water tank is not working, it's bad, the buyers say they want a new one. Well, you're already registered for Real Vitalize. You can go through there and buy it, right? So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of good reason to sign your client up from the start. And also I loved how you explained that, right? We want to make this property look the best it possibly can to every single buyer that comes through. And in order to do that, I'm offering you a no money down, no interest, loan basically up front. That's not going to affect your closing or anything like that to make sure we can get this unit right and tight for you. So that was awesome. I said I was going to start at the start, but I started at the end because I was so excited for that. I loved how complete your bio page was. You guys all should take a note out of that. We've seen some awesome bio pages. Remember, the best part about Moxie is it is virtual. That's your calling card you're leaving behind. Even if you're doing an in-person presentation, being able to send that Moxie presentation to the sellers to review and look at afterwards is going to be really important. And if you have that complete bio page, that's just going to show that you have a complete presentation. They can hyper-click into your InTouch website, right, directly from that Moxie page. You know, they're going to be able to shoot you an email directly from there if they click it. So it's really important to have that done. I also thought it was really unique that you mentioned your why during that page. You really highlighted to them why you are in the business and why they should use you, and I think that was really powerful to kind of start off the bat. And then like Curtis and I were mentioning a lot, you crushed it with the stats. I mean, we don't guess the market, we know the market. That was a great line. I quoted that for you guys so you could all R&D, rip off, and duplicate. That was really powerful. And the way you went
I literally made that up. I just made that up. Like that was
okay, well, get that tattooed on your hand or something so you can look at it every presentation to like remind yourself.
I'm a master bullshitter. I apologize, Martin.
No, I thought that was great. And honestly, like you said that at the start, before you even really got into some of those charts and graphs. And because you said that at the start, everything that you highlighted and explained on those graphs and stats made me pay attention more. Because you set that expectation with me as a seller that you're not here to come and say, well, I think I could sell it for this. You're here to come and talk to me about what you are seeing, what the stats are telling you, what the market trends are telling you. And everything you explained in like the graphs and the statistics, I was like, oh, yeah, duh, makes sense. I don't want my place to be sitting that long just to get a potentially higher price because I probably won't, just like Jay's telling me. I believe him. So that was awesome. I also thought, and like Curtis, I know you mentioned this too, so I'll let you comment, but I thought the way you compared yourself to Zillow and like why you should always use a realtor, especially because we knew right off the bat you're talking to a FSBO, right? And I would say 99% of for sale by owners think that they can do it themselves because they're pricing based on Zillow, right? Or any number of places, and they think they can market it themselves. So they're like, I don't want to pay someone to do it. That was so unique. And you had like legit examples up there on how Zillow was off by a lot of money, but and in one of those it was off the commission you'd pay an agent to get it taken care of, right? So that was interesting. Curtis, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm right. Overall, it was a very friendly, casual, genuine listing presentation. I got to go back to, about knowing the market. I thought that was a great line. You definitely could tag your email address with that. That's how that was a great line. And just the explanation of the charts is what she was saying too, because sometimes people see those charts and to tell you the truth, what you were highlighting, I didn't even know when you were going over the dots. I was like, oh, that's a good way to explain that. And what Rachel is talking about, just explaining yourself between you and Zillow. You are the professional. Zillow is just an algorithm and they're just pulling stats from the sky, and you know the market. And I thought it was really genuinely done. Good job.
Curtis, you just got quoted too. You are the realtor, Zillow's an algorithm. I'm going to type that in the chat for you guys. That was awesome. So great job. Total. I also dropped in there. So again, I loved the Real Vitalize pitch. I also thought it was really great how you said we a lot instead of I. So if we remember a while ago, I don't know, some of you guys are brand new, so you might not remember this, but we had a speaker, his name is Mark Jacobson. He actually works with all of you guys for your health benefits, insurance, things like that. But he actually spoke for us at one of our Coaching to Confidences. And his topic was the 4 words that kill conversation and the 4 words to use instead. And one of the words that kills conversation is I. Because the minute you start using, I'm going to do this, I saw this, I think this, people love themselves more than they love you, right? So it turns someone off because all you're doing is talking about you. And almost through this whole presentation, you used we, which I think is really important too, because especially a FSBO, right? You're not trying to sit there and say, you guys sucked, that's why you couldn't sell it. And I'm better, use me. You're saying, look, I want to partner with you on this. I'm gonna be the marketing, guru. I'm the professional, but this is your property. I'm going to work with you to get the results that you want. And so this is a we situation. So I thought, to me, that spoke volumes. Because I would argue, I think just consumers these days who they can just Google something, right? They can just go on Zillow or Redfin or any of these sites. So they're very empowered. They have a lot of information at their fingertips. It's less of a hierarchy, I have to hire a realtor, and more, I'd like to partner with someone who can explain the stats to me the way Jay just did. I'd like to partner with someone who's going to be 100% focused on this for me, but knows that it's still my decision, right? And so that was very inspiring. Does anybody else have any feedbacks for your friend Jay?
I was just going to piggyback on the casualness. You actually broke and talked to yourself in third person when you were going through the comps. You were like, Jay, what do you think? And that was good because you were empathetic and looking into the eyes of your seller and asking the questions that you think that they would ask you. So I would say definitely use that in your listing presentations. Talk to yourself. It was actually a really, really good, I'm going to call it a gimmick, but it was a good, I don't know what the word is. It was a good element of your presentation.
Mm-hmm. Chris, I saw you unmuted.
Oh, yeah. Hey, hi, Jay. I'm Chris. I'm newer with Caldwell. Excellent presentation. I was engaged. I felt you were confident. I felt, I felt relaxed, but at the same time, knowledgeable. So I really appreciate you taking the lead on that this week. It was great. It was great. I'm learning so much. Well done. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. I definitely stopped quite a few listing presentations before doing this throughout the week, just like just gauging like how people do it online, and then just doing it just talking how I would talk normally. A good thing, just what I try to do is get out of my own head. People, have you ever met a professional person in your life? Like, I have to think about that. Most people I know that are successful, they're just relaxed. They're not using big words. They're relatable, and that's where I try to think about. That's why I just try to breathe. As Rachel was telling me, I start talking faster when I get nervous. It's a problem.
A little trick for you guys when you are feeling stressed. Hi, Nakia. And I learned this from like a professional interviewer and somebody when I was doing the Illinois Realtors Leadership Development course. So firmly plant your feet on the ground when you can and really feel like the ground beneath your feet. It sounds really stupid, you guys. I get it. Like, I sound cuckoo bananas, but it really helps you take that second to realize, like, I'm like here, I'm alive. Like, the worst case scenarios, they're going to say no and they're going to go with someone else and I'll still be alive after that. But it helps kind of center you and remind yourself that this is your presentation. You are in control of this. You're going to do just fine because you know what you're talking about. And that'll help you kind of remember to slow down for a second. Remember to take that pause. There's something very powerful in a pause. So just remember that. You did great, though. I don't want you to feel like you rushed it too fast, but I know how it feels. Like, sometimes when I'm in big meetings, I like uncross my legs so I can like literally just have both feet on the ground and feel it for a second.
If I could add my 2 cents, I think you did great, Jay. You were very personable, and your delivery I was multitasking, as I am often doing and guilty of. But I was like, oh, well, let me lean forward and pay attention. So that's wonderful. I would say to everyone, remember to ask for the sale. You've got to say, does this sound like a plan? I just need you to sign this listing agreement or buyer broker agreement and we can get started today. And remember, they don't know what you don't know. So that's how I approach every meeting. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
That's a great idea. I think the biggest thing I think a lot of us think is people need all this time to think about things. That can be the killer. That gives them indicator that you're giving them permission to ask other people their advice, which gives them permission to interview other realtors. So always wrap up with that's such a great point, Nakia, and just say, so does this sound like something that we can get going on today? Because I'd love to get the photographer out in the next couple of days so that we don't miss XYZ in the market. So we can be on.
I assume the sale. Every time I get in the car, I thought you were hiring me. I thought that's what we were here to do.
Yep, that's great.
Yay! Snaps for Jay. So proud of you. Awesome. Okay, so Nakia had a really great suggestion last week, and Curtis, Nakia, and I really want to help you guys not only keep scripting with your listing presentations, right? Because it's so important to get everything, all the components in Listing Concierge down, understand what your value proposition is, be able to leverage RealVitalize like we saw Jay do, and RealSure for those options, right? I think RealSure, if you guys haven't taken the training yet, you can take it through that website just to get a little bit more understanding. But RealSure is always something good to have in your back pocket because we can make assumptions about a seller, but we never should, right? So we might go in and be like, oh, it's a $500,000 listing. They probably aren't going to want a quick offer, or be done. But we don't know their situation. They might sit there and be like, oh, you can actually get me 450 right now or 400 right now. I'll actually take that hit because I need to move to Texas tomorrow and I don't have time to play with this. So RealSure is something you can actually come prepared with as well. So I'd encourage you guys to check that out. But we also know that many of you are already working with buyers. And many of you are prospecting your sphere looking for buyers. So we also want to start introducing scripting for buyer presentations and giving you guys the opportunity to do that in front of the group as well. Because I think we all learn better when you're not just hearing from me or Curtis. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and pop into Moxie just to show you guys, because Moxie is going to be where you still live for the buyer presentations, right? You're able to do either buyer or seller. So let me share real quick. Curtis, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So you guys see that I have some templates and things like here. You'll see a lot of them are labeled test. I really encourage you guys, you should have like 6 or 7 tests in here, right? Just really start creating some things that work for you, play around with it. Many of you already have them because you've been practicing your listing presentations, right? But when you go here to create new, the first one on here is a buyer, and then you'll also see that we actually have a buyer and a non-listing. So what's cool about the buyer presentations in Moxie is you can do the first one, which is really what we're going to go over the most, right? Which is presenting to a buyer on, this is why you should use me as a resource, right? This is why you should hire me as your realtor and sign that buyer rep agreement so that we're both on the same page and you know what agency is and you know my responsibility. But also something that's really unique, and I know Nikki is a huge fan of this because she's the anti-paper queen, which I love because she's helping us save all the trees. This buyer tour option, remember, Moxie connects and syndicates with MLS. So if I know I have a buyer tour on Saturday and I'm showing 4 places, let's say, instead of coming to the office and printing out 4 sets of MLS sheets for them, then one's for me, I can actually put everywhere we're going to go in the order we're going to go into a buyer tour in Moxie, email that to them the night before, and then encourage them to either use their cell phone or an iPad, right, as you're going through the property. That way, they have all the information at their fingertips. They can click through all the photos, and in real time while we're going through, we're not worrying about shuffling papers. Where's that lockbox code? Nothing like that. You can really focus it on here. And then they have that going home to review the details as opposed to trying to find which paper isn't crumpled and which one did I leave in the car. So that's like our quick pitch for buyer tour. But for buyer presentation, if I'm going to click that and click continue, and then I'm going to do a no template and actually build from the start, but you can also click, okay, I'm not going to do no template. In broker templates here, you'll see how we have a default buyer. We'll see you have a Chicago buyer presentation. So kind of click through and just see which ones that you might want to do and go forward with. Let's do the Chicago one so we can be Chicago specific. And then I'm just going to say new biz peer group because I have too many. It's labeled test, right? So, and you'll notice I have my MRED as my primary. All of you guys should have MRED as your primary in this box here. And if you don't, you can reach out to Leah Scott and have a one-on-one or attend any of the multitude of trainings that go on specifically for Moxie through Sales Pro. So now if you've created a listing Moxie presentation, this is going to look fairly similar, okay? Except you're not inputting property information right off the bat. You're going to kind of go through. You can actually drag and drop listings right off the bat in here. So for example, if I'm going to meet with Zach and I have talked on the phone already. I have a good idea of what Zach is looking for. While he comes in to meet with me to know whether or not he wants to hire me, I'm going to assume the close. Okay, I'm going to assume Zach is going to want to work with me, and I'm going to come prepared, and I'm going to actually show him a few listings I already pulled based on what he told me in the phone interview. I'm looking for a 2-bed, 2-bath in Lincoln Square. I need a parking spot. I'm willing to go up to $450,000. I'd like to not have to do any work. So I'm going to have a few things already put into this presentation after I talk to him about my value, about the importance of using a realtor. So I can assume that we're going to sit there and say, when are we going to go out and see these properties? Okay, so that's kind of where you can do this, is input the listings. But if you go down over here, I'm going to scoot all the way down to the end to see pages. This is where you guys are going to kind of live and play around in. Click into each of these pages and really see what they all mean. You're going to see some are very similar to what the listing presentation is, right? Like this slide is in there. Your agent profile. Notice mine is not as filled out as Jay, so I've got some catching up to do, that's for sure. But then after those first pages, then it drops in pre-done slides for you guys about the buying process. Right. And one thing that was really powerful about all of your listing presentations is you guys are really experts at explaining and speaking to the slide and not reading off the slide, right? Because slides should be an enhancement, something that's visual to enhance what you're speaking to. So don't feel like I have to read everything to the consumer off the slide, but really kind of make it your own. Pull out what's going to be most important for you to speak to, pardon me. So kind of go through here and play around. These are just like the ones that say tab are like a starting page, so to speak. But it literally, we have pre-done step by step for you guys. I know so many of you have asked like, well, how do I get a step by step? What happens in the process? Here's the slide. Here's the slide. And this is what you explain to your client. First stop, we're going to obtain that mortgage approval. And you'll notice then each stop on here actually has its own tab to go deep dive into. Just like Listing Concierge, right? We have the one slide that highlights all 12 items of Listing Concierge, then each item gets its own slide to go through. So you're going to be able to go through, talk with them about what the contingencies are, and then that last step, right, move in. And so kind of click through each of these, go through and see what's going on. You can delete any that you feel are extra you don't want. You can also view it as a PDF if you'd like to see something bigger. And then you can also add custom pages, right? So one of the cool things about a buyer presentation that I really encourage you guys all to, I'm gonna stop staring so I can talk to you guys for a second. One of the things I would encourage you guys all to do is remember that leveraging Coldwell Banker's brand is so important. There's so many things that you guys have at your fingertips to help buyers and sellers, but you also want to create and leverage your own personal brand as well. Why should they use Zach and not the 12 agents in line for the business behind him? Why should I use Christopher and not the other people vying for the business? Leveraging those two things together is going to get you the results that you guys are looking for. So think about creating some custom Moxie slides where I'm not just going to talk to you about the pre-approval, you know, Zach, who wants to buy with me. I'm actually going to give you a slide of the guaranteed rate affinity lender that I think is going to work best for your needs. This is Robin, and I'm going to have her headshot up there and her contact information. I work with Robin on several of my deals with buyers. She's incredibly responsive. She understands the value of making sure that you're making a good investment for yourself, whether it's a 3 to 5 year plan to live in that condo or you're looking for your forever home. This is why I recommend Robin. And then when you get down to talking about the inspector, Zach, this is the inspector I use. His name is Jesse Mills. I just wanted to put his photo up here so the first time you're seeing him is not just at the inspection. You know what to think about. Jesse is the owner and owner of Straightforward Home Inspections. I use him on all of my inspections. I truly haven't experienced a better inspector. This is why. We're not to that point yet. You don't got to call Jesse yet, but I want to make sure you have this information. Real estate attorney. I use Peter Marks. This is Peter. Peter's going to help make sure that we meet all those contingencies. Peter's going to help us explain attorney review any condo docs. If you're buying a condo, he's really that resource. And, you know, Zach, the reason why I like to refer these 3 individuals, or maybe I'm giving you 2 or 3 lenders to choose from, is because when you work with me, you're working with a team of real estate professionals who are hyper-focused on helping you achieve your goal in real estate. That is incredibly important to me, and that's why I'm in this business. So every single person I refer is an extension of how I'm going to work with you one-on-one. They're going to be responsive. They're going to keep me in the loop so that you don't have to pay attention to everything. We're going to make sure that we've got you and we can lead you through the whole process. So as you guys think about your buyer presentations, speak to why someone should use you and create some of those custom pages in Moxie to really highlight that. And then also feel comfortable with the pages we have pre-built so that you can explain it, right? Because let's see, I think Curtis, the last time we did this was like summer, I think like June or July, I think I did my buyer presentation. And buyer presentations are intense because especially if it's a first time buyer, like everything's confusing. There's so much to explain. Earnest money, what is that, right? Everyone's like, what is that? I don't know what earnest money is. And it's almost too much at the start. That's why we have these slides. It's about highlighting and touching on where I know based on my conversation with Zach before he agreed to meet with me, what his question areas might be. But I'm going to give him the resources to review this later as well. Right? I'm going to be there in person, but I don't want to take 2 hours of Zach's time. That's crazy. He's going to zone out. I want to be very specific. I want to touch on the high points with him, and then get right to the brass tacks of, here are 5 properties I pulled for you. I noticed that if you are open this Saturday, if we were planning on, are you maybe available between like 1 and 4 on Saturdays, Zach? Because if so, we can actually swing through these 3 during their open houses, and then I can schedule these 2 appointments after. Like, you're coming prepared. You've got your schedule down. I'm just making sure Zach is on board. Maybe he says, well, I can't do 1 to 4, but I could do like 1 to 2:30. Okay, how about we do these 3 because they're already open. We can go in and see them. I don't even have to request those showings. And then we'll see how you feel after that and kind of regroup and decide, are the other 2 worth seeing? Are we going to change some of the search parameters? You know, whatever you need to do. But come with that assumption, like Nikia said, that that buyer is going to work with you. So I said a whole lot there. Does anybody have any questions? Has anybody poked around the buyer presentation in Moxie yet? Zach?
This is just a side thing. I represent myself. So, I don't know if I'm going to need you in this transaction. I just want to point that out there. I just don't want you to get your hopes up.
Oh, damn it. I was
Zach,
hoping
come
for that 2.5. That was awesome. Have you poked around in Moxie, Zach?
I have.
What do you think?
It's good. I need to definitely use it more. And it's actually going to come in handy because I have some virtual meetings this weekend with some people I already know who are looking to purchase. So it's definitely a good tool to have, and just makes life a whole lot easier for people, especially if they have a reference point to look back at, as opposed to just giving you a call and being like, hey, listen, I forgot what this meant, or, X, Y, or Z. It just makes it so much easier when everything's already laid out for them and they just have a reference point to go back and touch base off of.
Okay. I agree with you. I think it works really well in the virtual stuff, but it also works well in person. So one of the things I always encourage you guys to do is, especially if you're meeting in someone's home, ask them if they have a smart TV, which like 99% of people have smart TVs because that's all they're making these days. You can actually cast this up onto that screen as well from your cell phone or your tablet. So that's awesome. Nikia.
Hey, I would encourage you guys to do a buyer presentation every single time. Not only does it help your job or make that transition a little easier, but you are setting expectations at the onset of the relationship. And that's really what you're trying to do, is get a gauge. What are the buyer's expectations? Are they reasonable, unreasonable? I take that time to dive into some of the data in the areas that they're looking at. So as an example, if you haven't taken MRED's InfoSpark class, I highly encourage you to take this time to do so. Because if I have a buyer that's looking in 4 areas, I literally pull up what's the median sales price for the property type that they're looking for. Oftentimes the data tells us that we may not be as successful in certain areas as others. So it helps both of us come to a more realistic expectation of what's happening in that snapshot of the market. And I'm off my soapbox. There you go.
I love it. That one slide that is the prep sequence of the timeline of how everything works, I usually can draw a slash in there and say, this is the area, this is going to be me and you going out there. But then once we get to this point, once we go to contract, then I'm going to call in the team. I'm going to call in the attorney. I'm going to call in the inspector. we're going to be having conversations with the lender. Maybe after the inspection, we're going to need a floor guy. Maybe we're going to need an electrician. It's the Chicago line. I got a guy. If you need me, I am your real estate expert. I'm well connected. I have several referrals for you to choose from. So it's kind of starts out, it's me and you against the world. But as we get deeper and deeper into the transaction, we're going to grow into like a team trying to get you over the finish line.
That's awesome, Curtis. That's a great point. And having those resources in Moxie slides, even if you don't include like the floor guy or all of these people in this exact Moxie, you guys can make endless amounts of custom Moxie slides, and being able to have maybe even just your vendor Moxie presentation where you're putting in people's headshots and contact information for every resource that you feel someone might ask you for someday. That's almost like that's gold right there. I used to do it when my clients would close. And Nakia will hate me because it was all paper. But when my clients would close, I would give them basically a binder of like, these are like the people I refer for electricians and plumbers. You're a homeowner now. You might need this information. This is people's gas phone number. This is ComEd's phone number. All of the different, you're in this alder, or you're in this alder ward, you're in this ward. Here's your alderman, their information, like all that stuff. But imagine if you could have it in Moxie. Because then you also have, and I don't have to print off 7,000 ones, and I can send it out to anybody when they're asking. And that's a huge thing as part of a nice, you're a homeowner now what? Because that's the other part, right? And I think that's something that we talk about a lot in some of the committees I'm on and stuff, is we are really good at explaining the process of buying. And sometimes we're not always that best resource for clients after they've closed and all of a sudden they're like responsible for a property. What do I do? So I think that's awesome. So go ahead, Nakia.
I have a question for the group. Are we talking about money? What was really truly near and dear to my heart is compensation. So how comfortable are you guys talking about your compensation and how you get paid? Feel free to unmute. This is the interactive portion.
Does anybody explain how we're paid?
Not you, Curtis. I'm talking to my newbies. Zach.
That's what I'm saying. Anybody want to explain how we do get paid?
Well, this is Chris here. I would imagine, if you're talking to a for sale by owner, you're trying to get a listing, you have to convince them that they are not able, or they can try to do it on their own, but why we're best fit to do it for them. And also not justify, but explain the worth, the value of going with the broker. So I think if I'm answering the question correctly, it's explaining the value, and using a realtor, and that's how you get compensated. And, it leads to referrals, one sale is going to get you possibly 4, Yeah,
to your point, Chris, it's much easier to talk about compensation as you're representing the seller. I want to get you guys comfortable talking about how you get paid as a buyer's rep and making sure you're having that conversation up front. Remember, licensed law requires that you talk about agency and compensation before you start working with them.
Okay.
So Chris, if I were your buyer and I say to you, Chris, do I owe you money at the end of this transaction? What is your response?
Well, my response would be that the seller is responsible for covering or pays the commission price. So, if I'm not mistaken, and you would disclose who you're representing, but in terms of the payment, it comes from the person who owns the home.
But Chris, what if I find something like a for sale by owner and they're not listed in the MLS? How do you get paid then?
Oh, well, you'll have to get them to sign the agreement, and listing count shares. So there's a fee associated with that. Yeah.
Close. That's okay though. Nakia, you want to take it? What piece of paper do we need?
Paper. We need an exclusive buyer broker agreement, which I will send you because I use electronic signature option.
Okay.
So yeah, all of this, sending the Moxie presentation, I do that electronically. I love Cloud CMA buyer tour. That's also pretty cool. HomeSnap, you guys are all on your phone right now, I'm sure. So you have lots of options to stay branded and stay connected.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Khadija.
Hi. My question is, someone mentioned like when you're working with a for sale by owner, you're on the buyer side and you're working for a for sale by owner, and usually they may not pay. So it's like, how do you present to them that usually we get our commission as co-op from other, like listing brokers, but in the event that you want a home from a FSBO and they're not willing to pay, how do we bring that up and not scare them away?
Great question. There's two ways to get paid on a for sale by owner. Number one, there's a for sale by owner compensation agreement, which you should all save in your documents before you go show that property. It does not indicate that you're representing that for sale by owner. It's simply saying if you bring that seller, that owner, a buyer, that they will compensate you at an agreed upon amount. The second piece is it's sort of a misnomer that the buyers can't pay you. The buyers absolutely can pay you. That's why you guys all want to get comfortable with that buyer broker agreement, which again helps you identify agency and compensation at the point of engagement with that buyer. So I will often say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, in the past, because I'm still, but I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, 95% of the time the seller or their agency is going to pay me. However, there's a 5% chance that you will have to pay me, and this is what this compensation would be. So I have that conversation up front so that we're all on the same page. I, of course, tell them, if we're looking at for sale by owner, I will ask that seller for compensation, but there's no guarantee. So are you willing to, pay me my X percent? We're all at the same company, so we could talk dollars. I'm used to talking to multiple brokerages. I go and I ask for 3%, and we can negotiate from there.
If I can ask a question, but doesn't the minimum Caldwell will take, isn't it 5%?
So we're talking right now is just giving you an example as a buyer agent,
Okay.
potentially showing a for sale by owner. On the list side, with all of our tools, I'm quite sure you guys, I asked for 6%. I didn't take a list
7.
number 6.
Well, I want you guys to ask for 7.
Ask for 7.
Start at 10. I mean, come
I'm
on.
new,
Hey,
so
Helen.
6 is my safe space.
You know what though? It's about people are always going to feel like they want to negotiate you down, right? So I've always started at 7, and I show the value. I do other things when I was selling. I would do other things at 7, like I'd pay for the cleaners, right? I would maybe do some light staging because I also knew that I was sourcing those people, and it was going to be less money than if I was asking them to pay for it, right? So there's just ways that you can do it, but Nakia is right on the buy side. The other thing I'd like to point out that besides for sale by owners, some other companies' co-ops are less than ours, right? Our minimum co-op is 2.5, but some companies don't have that standard. And so I was just talking to one of your colleagues today in the Lincoln Park office who was saying, I think my client wants to see something that's co-opted at 2%. How do I help make sure that I get that extra 0.5? And I was like, you need to explain compensation, get that buyer rep agreement for 2.5 or 3 if you're Nakia signed, and make sure your client knows if they choose to write an offer on that property, right, that they will be responsible for the additional 0.5%. So it also protects you not just in FSBOs. It is that understanding that you are performing a job that you are hired to do by that client. You expect to get paid, and 95% of the time, they're not going to be the ones paying you, right? We don't have to worry about it till we get to that point, but I want to make sure you know up front what that point would be.
Absolutely. So in that example Rachel just gave, if your signed buyer broker agreement called for 2.5% and the listing that they decided on was 2%, the buyer would need to bring that 0.5% to closing.
And I have a question. So in the event where it's a for sale by owner, so they don't have anyone representing them and they want to sell ASAP. If you're working with a buyer and you bring this buyer to them and they say no, so then that's when before you do so, you're talking to the buyer to sign this agreement, because can they do that? Can they say, no, I'm not going to pay it? But they can do that. Oh,
Yep,
okay.
they can say that.
For sale by owner.
Right.
So they don't have a realtor representing them as the listing buyer.
Okay.
Christopher,
And you should know that answer before you show. Like that was what Nakia was saying. So in Dotloop, there's 2 for sale by owners, 1 with commission, 1 without. Before you even show that property, you need to have that conversation with the seller and say, are you co-oping with agents? If so, how much? Right? And if they say, well, I'll co-op 1, try to negotiate for yourself and just see, because you also know your buyer is going to have to pay you whatever's the difference. before you show that property, make sure that the seller has signed off on that, because there is no promise otherwise, right? And if you show that property without that signed and they're there, for example, and they know your buyer loves it so much and they know that buyer's going to write an offer no matter what, you're going to be shit out of luck. They're not going to sign that.
All right. Got it. Thank you.
And you can have that conversation when you make the showing request. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, hoping to come by Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Does that time work for you? Oh, it does. And I just want to double check that you are co-oping 2.5% to Coldwell Banker. And it's just kind of that blunt.
As you guys are getting started, don't get caught up on the dollars just yet. Just focus on practicing that buyer consultation, explaining agency, explaining how we get paid.
Okay.
So with that being said, we got about 5 minutes left. Do we have a volunteer to do a buyer presentation to the group next week?
I'll do it.
Okay, Zach.
Easy enough.
That's awesome. So like Nakia said, the kind of homework, right? The bare minimum is to be able to explain the compensation, right? And kind of go through, and your goal is to get us to use you. All 12 of us are going to buy with you, Zach, in one go. We're pooling our money.
I'm not banking on it, but you guys are more than welcome to.
We're all going to need 25% referral fees individually as well. So I hope you weren't hoping for a lot of money at the end of the day.
I was thinking 30. Why cut yourself short?
That's true. That's true. I think we're worth 30% referral fees. That's for sure. Awesome. Well,
can we do a commercial for book club Tuesday, 2 o'clock? David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. It's a little raw. The book has got some dirty words in it, but it's really a great motivational book. David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Oh,
yeah.
All right.
It's a man.
Book, but he's got a potty mouth.
Yeah,
whether you've read the book or not, come, because we always try to make the conversation work for you guys no matter what. Like the overarching premise we'll talk about, and we can all speak to what it is David is speaking to in that book. So that'll be good.
What questions do you guys have? We have 3 minutes.
Nakia, do you miss me?
I do miss you, Zach.
Okay.
I'm hanging out in Lincoln Park yesterday and today, so I got to get back to my Gold Coast family.
Hey, there we go.
So you guys seriously have no questions. So that means you guys, your AMP courses are going amazing. Your MLS classes, you've got it down pat. You've got this buyer presentation down pat, all of that. That's what I'm reading from the group. Now, Chris just joined us, what, a week, 2 weeks maybe?
Coming up on 3.
Oh, okay, give me the gap for 3 weeks.
Mhm. Yeah, my AMP's about to start next week. So next week's going to be full swing week with the start of AMP. There's a new onboarding with Chicago Association of Realtors I look forward to. And I also look forward to listening to our president, coming in February. So it's on my wife's birthday, so I can't forget that. So no questions now. I really do appreciate the mentorship and support. I get these, since getting my license, I get these letters and text and phone calls of other firms, and some I never heard of, but they're like, whoa, yeah, I'm just like, but I'm really happy I joined Coldwell. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you too.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
And Chris, you're going to be in there with Monique in AMP.
Oh, good.
Elizabeth,
Okay.
maybe?
All right.
Yeah, I think Elizabeth too.
Yeah, I'll be there next week also.
Excellent. Oh, I look forward to it.
Maggie's been quiet. Is she just on? Are we white noise right now in the background? And she's working hard. Hey.
I'm here. I'm just in my pajamas, so you don't want to
I'm
see
so
that.
jealous right now. I cannot wait to go put on a set of sweats.
I cannot, and I know that people always say even if you're working from home, you should get dressed and do your makeup. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. I still work the same, but I even have a desk and I don't choose not to sit at it. So
There's
I need to get it figured out.
there's no judgment here. Whatever works, I think right now.
That's what I keep telling myself.
Nikki and I are about to have like a pajama day at the office next week. My goodness, or at
Sure.
least sweatpants day because, whew,
Or at
these high
least
heels are for the
jeans.
birds.
Let me know what day not to be in the office. When you guys do that.
No, Zach always comes dressed to the nines, and I always feel underdressed when I see Zach.
I apologize.
He's like three-piece suit.
I'll start doing like a casual day, maybe once a month.
That's without the tie.
I'll be without the tie. And I'll keep it a few buttons down too.
All right, Helen, any questions? Monique?
No, I don't have any. I'm here to meet with Rachel, so I'll give her all my questions.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll come say hi. I'm down the hall.
Okay, great.
And
I'm
Monique
gonna
and I
jump
met
on at
earlier
2
today.
o'clock.
So.
It was good to see everybody. I've got to go. Thank you so much, Jay. Great job. I appreciate it. And I'll see you all very, very soon.